Welcome to Unlearning, where we go behind the curtain for an insider's perspective on the theater industry, break down the buzzworthy conversations on social media, and challenge the stigmas that hold us back. I'm Veronica Stern, and together we're unlearning and redefining what it means to thrive in the business. Now it's time to rewrite the script. Hello, wonderful people of the world, and welcome to the Unlearning podcast. Today we have a guest that filled my soul to the brim because our conversation was so wonderful. We talked about everything from college and going to Michigan and CCM. We talked about life after school and maybe the things that we weren't expecting. And we also talked about his very exciting new show, Drag the Musical. And of course, I am talking about Nicholas Kraft, a friend of mine and a colleague and someone that I am so excited for you all to hear talk today. Before I do, Wicked has its first full-time Black Elphaba. I don't want to butcher her name, so you can go and look her up. And you can bet that I will be at the Gershwin Theater on March 4th to see her debut. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Nicholas Kraft. I've always been partial to the idea that you don't have to do like one thing. And I feel like at Michigan, they're more accepting of that, but at CCM they're not.
Yeah.
At least when I was there.
Well, because Michigan's a liberal arts school,
That's
whereas
right.
CCM is conservatory.
Do you remember when you visited?
I do, of course.
I remember that weekend so vividly.
I love CCM.
You do?
Yes, and I loved my time there. I almost went there, like fully almost went there.
Did you go to the camp or something? Or
No, but I think I visited campus 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Once before I even started applying because I wanted to just like dip my toes into different campuses.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Kendall McCarthy, Daniel Marhelko, and like
wow.
all of these people at CCM at the time who were much older than me. I'd grown up doing theater with them. So I felt very safe and very comfortable at CCM and around everyone at CCM. And I like the idea of a conservatory. I really do. I think it's
Did you know what it was before you?
Yeah, because
I didn't.
Okay, so I grew up in North Carolina, and I grew up kind of going to a conservatory of sorts for youth and children, and that is a whole other can of worms. Because do I think that Little T traumatized me in many ways? Yes. Like I
Was
think
that the name of the place?
No, the name of the place was
You don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
What's Little T?
Meaning like there's big T trauma and there's little T trauma.
Oh.
So this wasn't like big T trauma. Like nothing like traumatizing happened.
Okay.
But like a few instances that I think will always be in the back of my mind and I'll always remember occurred to me at a very young age, impressionable age. And I mean, that's a whole can of worms because I think it's one thing to go to a conservatory at in college, but it's a completely different scenario for when you're doing middle school and high school, also just like going to a conservatory after school hours. It was very intense.
Very intense.
Do I think it prepared me and like is why I have the skill sets I do today? Yes. But do I also have a lot of skeletons in my closet because of it? Yes.
Wow.
So I guess when I went to CCM, I was like, "Oh, this is familiar." Like,
And
I
it
like
was
this.
like, was it almost too familiar? And you were like, I want a new experience.
It wasn't necessarily that. It was more so, I had my dream schools, the schools that I knew I wanted to go to, and CCM was in that list. And so when I also got into Michigan, it was kind of a feeling whenever I stepped foot on the campus in Ann Arbor. I liked how expansive it was. I liked how big it was. It's huge. And I liked the fact that I could have my musical theater world, but also if I wanted, go to a football game or go, which I know is possible at Cincinnati too, but like go and.
I think it's more a part of the culture now than it was when like I was there.
Sure.
And I think I like weirdly remember us like sitting in Sedal, which was like the dorm at the time, which is now like being like busted down.
Is it really?
Yeah, crazy.
Well, is it old?
It's super old, and it should have been busted down like 10 years ago, but that,
I remember this too. Wait, but who brought me there? Who was I with?
You were there for accepted. Were you not there for accepted students weekend?
So that must have been accepted students weekend, because I did go to accepted students weekend.
Yeah.
And the day I landed in Cincinnati, I found out I got into Michigan.
Oh my god. I'm remembering.
Is it unlocking?
This was the exact same experience that I had.
Yeah.
Because I was.
No way.
Yes, I was on my way to Cincinnati for accepted students weekend. Who was the woman that used to call? I know she passed away.
She passed away. Oh my God.
It's okay.
Laura Hoffman.
Yes, she called me, and I was in the airport at LaGuardia with my mom, and I saw a number from Michigan, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting the call right now. And then I had to go to Cincinnati, and I remember we had the exact same experience, and that's what we were, bonding over.
You and also
Sedal.
Ethan Zeff.
Yes.
I remember you girlies were talking to me about that, and like, I in my soul in that visit knew I wasn't going to CCM.
Really?
I knew, because the minute I went to Michigan, I was like, I'm going here.
Interesting. So what drew you to Michigan other than like the obvious factors? What were like the deeper things?
Well, because I didn't even really understand the status of Michigan when I was applying. Like, I knew that people recommended it and that a lot of cool people went there. I guess I wasn't intimidated by it. Like, I went there and I was like, okay, like, cool. I was more so just soaking in. I'll tell you exactly what sold me. When I went to other schools, not CCM. CCM was very open and warm and nice. But when I went to other schools, from my experience at least, but I'm also a tall white man, so like, like, I guess it's it's different for everybody. But I knew people.
That helps.
When I went to Michigan, I remember people being so happy. Like, people were walking around the halls and hugging each other and like laughing, and like actual students. Like, I was watching and observing what the student life was like, and I obviously knew of these people. Like, I'm thinking of Sam Faulkner and Owen Claire Smith, like people who I knew of.
Yeah.
And they were just walking around and having a fun time. And I remember it being so different from the vibes of other schools I went to. I remember there was one school that will remain unnamed, but I went there and the students looked depressed. Like, and mind you, they probably were. And mind you, at Michigan, we all were depressed too. And like,
right.
that's a very real thing. But for an accepted or for an audition day, it was very important for me to catch the vibe of a place. And the vibe at Michigan was so what I was looking for. Because I knew that everyone was talented. I knew that everyone was intelligent. We had to write like 3 or 4 essays just to even get to the audition. So like, it was clear that these people knew what they were doing, but they weren't bogged down. Whereas I went to a few schools where the students were bogged down.
Right. So when you were there, obviously the pandemic, and I always say the pandemic happened during our like most formative years of college, because they did. And I genuinely feel like that it didn't ruin my experience, but I think it definitely changed the trajectory of my experience. And I'm wondering if it did for you as well.
Of course.
Okay.
My God. Well,
do you think that because you graduated a year in 2022, right? So I guess you had almost 3 years of school that were like truly in the pandemic.
Yeah. I remember I was on spring break of my sophomore year of college. We were in Turks and Caicos, which is gorge. Like, a memory I will not forget.
Yeah.
When the first coronavirus case was found in California.
My God.
Or the West Coast. I think it was California. It was either California or
Seattle
Washington.
Or something.
Oh yeah, Seattle. I remember we were just at the pool finding that out. And then, from the rest of my sophomore year, all of junior year was online. And then my senior year was a little hybrid situation where we were half in person, half online. And like, the classes that were in person, we had to wear masks.
Right.
And I don't know, to go study an art form that is about expression and about singing in the middle of a pandemic of an airborne illness, like, we were all just I guess, put on pause for a bit. We couldn't sing.
Like making the most of it where we could.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did you ever have like, I don't know if doubts is the right word, but did it ever go through your mind like, maybe this is my time to like do something else? Or was it always just like, I have to do this thing even though it's really like difficult right now, and I'm like being shown like kind of how if God forbid something happens, my industry just like stops?
If anything, it just lit a fire under my ass.
Why?
Because I was so bored. And I was like, what do I do with my time? The things that I was typically striving for, booking this role in this show, wasn't a thing because shows weren't happening. We couldn't do those shows.
Right.
So then I was like, well, what do I do with my time? And I remember I was watching Gossip Girl, one of my favorite TV shows ever, in my home in North Carolina. And I was just so... I don't know. I was just bored. I was in my childhood home when I should have been in school with my friends. And I just remember watching this scene between Blair Waldorf and Chuck Bass being like, wait, this would be such a good song. This would be such a badass musical theater song. And so then I just went to my keyboard and I remember I wrote that song in 10 minutes maybe. And I was like, and then I called a friend of mine, a classmate of mine. I was like, hey, what if I wrote a Gossip Girl musical? Like, is that something that you'd be interested in helping me with? And he was like, yes, because he was very talented at orchestrations and arrangements, which is kind of my weakness. I like lyric writing and melody writing, but the whole arrangements and technology of it all intimidates me, or at the time intimidated me. So when I say that COVID lit a fire under my ass, it just made me look at other ways to express my creativity. I was craving a space to sing, craving a voice. And so I just used that time to just sit and write. And that was one of the most creative periods of my life. And though COVID was really challenging and hard on many levels and absolutely altered the way that my college experience looked like, it reminded me that I am more valuable than singing, dancing, and acting. I am a human being first. And I am valuable. My brain is valuable. I have ideas. We all have the ability to make things happen for ourselves. Whereas before COVID, I was begging for opportunities.
So I'm wondering then, in a TikTok you made, you said that when you graduated college, and I might be messing this up, so just correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that you didn't believe in yourself.
Oh, yeah. No.
So where did that come from?
So first of all, I can tell you did your research. Thank you for like looking up all of the TikToks and stuff. That video in particular, I stand by this. I am such a good faker. Like I can fake like everything's fine. And I put on a brave face because I want to be Mr. Congeniality. I want to be the person that people feel comfortable around. But that does not mean that I'm doing well, or that doesn't mean that I have it all figured out. And I remember, I was sitting in the back of my dad's truck after I just flipped the tassel and graduated from one of the top colleges for musical theater, or whatever that means. And so I should, on paper, have it all. But I didn't. I felt so uncertain because of COVID. Like, it's one thing to find why I was so valuable or why I should keep pursuing this. That never went away. I always have been chasing this since I was a kid, and I still am, and I was at that point in my life too. But this thing that I was chasing no longer existed. Like, Broadway was shut down. And like, well, I guess by the time I graduated, it was back.
It was still like, I think this year is like the first year it's truly like the industry is back. Things are more normal than they have been. Like, this is truly the first year.
Yeah. So you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
I was graduating in a degree of musical theater where musical theater was at a low point.
It was so uncertain. And something a lot of people don't talk about is so many of the jobs that were happening between 2021 and 2022 were things that were promised to people before the pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that what people don't understand about that is like, for example, I worked at the Muni in 2022.
Fierce.
That was a job that was promised to me promised. Okay, nothing's promised, but you know what I mean. Like, I signed a contract in 2020.
You knew it was happening.
Yeah, I knew that it was happening. It was supposed to happen in 2020. And then when the pandemic hit, they called me and were like, your job is safe. It will be here in 2021.
Okay.
And then in 2021, it might have been, it didn't happen or something. 2022, it happened. So a lot of the jobs that were happening between 2021 and 2022, okay, yeah, things are coming back, but like, people have had those jobs for, at this point, 3 years. So
that's a cool story.
It's an interesting thing to think about, because I always think about that. I'm like, this is the first year where like jobs, and maybe last year too, but this is the first year where it's like jobs that are coming up are truly open field. Anybody can get these jobs, you know, and does that make sense?
Absolutely. These things that I liked what you said about, and I think this is why colleges are struggling right now. And frankly, I know that Michigan's struggling right now, and it's not alone. Like, there's
struggling
so many
with what?
With adapting with all of the changes.
Oh,
there's
okay.
so many changes that are happening as a culture and as a society, and the main form of auditions now are self-tapes.
Right.
It's something that you do on your own. You set up a camera, you have the lighting, you have it all. You have to learn the material on your own. Whereas before, so freshman year of college, it was always standard that you go into the room. You always go into the room. That's how you audition.
Mm-hmm.
But now the definition of what an audition looks like is so different that colleges are struggling to teach that because it's so cutting edge. Everything that is now the norm is so new that kind of we're the people who are learning firsthand how to do it. Like, our professors, I love them. They're wonderful and they're great at what they do, but they don't know how to teach you how to edit a video.
Oh my goodness.
They don't know how to do that.
I've never thought about the fact that like kids need to be taught how to properly edit, and you're right, that's not something that's taught to us.
And like, I'm not pointing blame, like, it's not what they do. Their level of expertise is how to read music on the spot and nail it. And that's also a skill that I think you have to possess. You don't have to possess, but like something that will help you stand apart from the rest.
Yeah. So basically, you had all of these skills, and is it that you left school and you were like, well, what am I supposed to do with these skills now? Was it like the industry looks so different than the thing that I was taught, and that's where the self-doubt came in?
Well, I guess the self-doubt came in. I had a summer stock lined up, which was great. That's thrilling. I know a lot of people who didn't have that. So I was like, okay, for the next 3 months, I have job security. But what next? Like, I know I'm going to move to New York. Like, that was always a given. I knew I was going to move to New York. And then what? Like, what job? Like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to pay rent? Where am I going to live?
So all of the realities of like life came in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Things that you can't be taught at school. Like, they can't tell you, well, I genuinely, like, there's no way for them to say, you are going to work with this family in this part of New York City. It's like, it just kind of falls into place. And so when I was graduating, I didn't know anything, and I was such a control freak. I was like trying to control everything. But then I just had to let go. And then when I let go, that's when a friend of mine who was 2 years above me at Michigan, she had just booked a national tour. She was like, hey, I know you just graduated. Are you looking for a job? The family I nanny is looking for a new person. I was like, yes, like, thank God. And that's how it happens. It just falls into place, or at least that's what I'm realizing. And the more that I was trying to grip and hold on to every little thing, those opportunities can't come. Or when they do come, I'm operating out of a place of fear and scarcity, not out of a place of strength and, I don't know, possibility.
So one of the other things that you said on your TikTok was that you're grateful for the things that don't work out. And I think that can be lost on a lot of people, because you have this opportunity, right? And you're like working so hard, and you go to all the callbacks, and then it doesn't go your way, right? And I think we're taught that, okay, like, but you learned other things from that and da-da-da-da-da. But I'm wondering, like, what did you mean by you're grateful for the things that don't work out?
Well, when I graduated college, there was pressure, especially at a top institution like Michigan. The standard seemingly is that you book a Broadway show 1 week after showcase. And like for many people, that is the case because, I mean, that's what stressed me out, I think, was I just didn't believe that was going to happen for me. And like there's a standard of, oh, you graduated from Michigan. Why aren't you on Broadway yet? Like, you're a failure.
Do you think that is put on by people that don't go to Michigan?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's not something that we hold upon our peers. Like, I do not think that when a classmate is in finals for something and doesn't get it. Like, that is not at all a thought that crosses my mind because I'm already so consumed with my own jobs. So I guess what I mean by I'm grateful for my failures is had I not... So there was a job that I really wanted. I really, really wanted this when I was showcasing, and I got really close. I was in final 3 to be in an equity national tour to play a role. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. People are going to gag when they find out about this.
Ooh, I want to just say, like, how you just said, oh, this is other people are going to be
gag.
So surprised and delighted by this success, and that is like my wanting for this job.
Yeah, like that's
so
toxic.
It's toxic, but I think it's a big reason why a lot of people like want certain things.
Yeah.
Because then when you ask them, like, oh, but like, why? It's like,
because they don't know the details of that job.
Right. You don't know what that job was going to entail. That could be like the worst job in the world.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it might have been. Sorry, continue.
So when I say I'm grateful that I didn't get that, I say that because I had to realize and learn why I was still valuable, like why I was still capable of doing that job, sure. But like then I spent 1.5 years as a caregiver, as a nanny for 3 boys.
Wow.
And in that time, and oh yeah.
That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. And so in that time, I was so frustrated because I was just embarrassed by what people thought of me. I was like, oh my God, like I probably look like such a failure right now. Like I graduated from Michigan, but I'm a nanny. Like, oh, what a concept. And in that time, I realized that I have a strength in communication. I have a passion for communicating my thoughts. And I also believe that children are the future and we have to listen to them. And so that 1.5 years of every day taking care of these 3 boys, the ages were 8, 10, and 13.
Oof.
Brutal. And I was in charge of them. Like,
and they live in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was in charge of bringing them to school, picking them up from school, taking them to their activities and everything.
What an experience, though.
And I'm so grateful to have had that experience because I do believe that without that, I wouldn't have learned all of the things that I did about myself.
Yeah.
Because had I booked that job right out of college, that dream job or whatever at the time, I would have subscribed to the belief that, oh, it's because I'm special. It's because I'm this. It's because of, and like, oh my gosh, like it would have been centered around ego. Like, truthfully, it would have been, it would have fueled the fire of, oh my God,
is fire.
Like, look at how talented I am. Like, everybody is going to be so impressed by me. But like,
do you think it's also the proof of like, okay, yeah, I went to Michigan, I paid the bill, and now I got the thing that I was promised.
What happens when that job ends?
Right, and that's the thing that I think a lot of kids, and when I say kids, like, you know, the kids that are vying for these schools, they don't know yet, and you know, in some ways I don't think they need to know, but okay, so great, you did the amazing Broadway show, but like, what's next?
Well, and like, who cares?
And who cares?
Like, who actually cares?
And I think a lot of what you were saying is fueled by social media and
right.
you saying, oh, it looks like you're killing it out there, and it looks like all of these things are happening for you, and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, sure, yeah, that's what I'm putting out there. But like people don't know that like, okay, I'm smiling and posting all these amazing places I went to during Anastasia, and like I was also having panic attacks like every day.
No kidding. That's a lot of pressure.
Right.
That was
and
on
so,
your
like,
shoulders.
Whenever somebody would say to me like, oh, it looks like so much fun, I'm like, yeah, it is, but I'm also not showing you like the really hard parts. And that's what's so dangerous about social media, you know?
I'd be curious to unpack like what those hard parts are, because that's things that I wish I was taught at school. The hard parts of the job, because I'm learning that now. I'm in a really cool commercial production right now.
Yeah, which I want to talk about.
We'll absolutely talk about it. And like, I'm learning that though I'm grateful for my job, some of the hardest parts of it is the toll it takes on my body, the toll it takes on my mental health, because whether or not I am having a good day, I have to show up to work. I have to communicate with my coworkers. I have to be in a dressing room. I have to share a dressing room with people who have different personalities than me, and they might be having a bad day as well, and I don't want that to affect me. Another hard part is I don't realize taxes and how this dream job doesn't pay as much as I thought it was going to, simply because of the government and because of Actors Equity. Like, I have my equity card now, but now that means I have to pay my dues. I have this off-Broadway contract with really cool people, but it's up to me to take care of my body and feed myself. With what money? With what money? And also, like, with what energy? That takes so much energy to take care of yourself.
Yep.
And had I not had that year and a half of learning how to take care of myself without a production on my shoulders, I'd crumble. I think it leads to people giving up because it is so hard to take care of yourself and lead a Broadway show.
Okay. The only thing I would say differently about what you just said is the term giving up. Because I don't think that you're giving up just because you decide that, hey, it's not right for me. I think if anything, every job is hard, whether you're working from home at a 9-to-5 corporate work thing or you're on the road for 12 months. Every single job is hard. You have to just decide if all of those things that you just said are worth it to you. And I think that once you get out of school and you get the experiences, that's when people make the decision, is this all worth it to me? Is doing this dream show, dream job, working on 8 times a week, doing 8 shows a week, is it worth my mental health? Is it worth not seeing friends and family for holidays? Is it worth all of these things that you wouldn't have thought about when you were in college, just like waking up at 10 a.m. and like, skrelting? So I think that I don't know if there's any way to teach that. I think it's one of those things where it's like they give you all of the tools, and to a degree they can warn you, I guess, but they can't necessarily say, or I mean, they can say, hey, you're not going to spend Christmas with your family. And when you're, 18, you're like, okay, like, it's fine, like, but then when you're 22.
Like, it's Broadway, who cares?
Yeah, it's Broadway, who cares? And when you're 22 and then you're all by yourself because nobody else is working on Christmas.
It's sad.
It's sad.
It's really lonely.
You know?
And I guess I like the altering of, it's not giving up, it's more of a like perspective shift. It's like, okay, this is what I was valuing, but now this is what I value. And like, I think that is so well put. I couldn't have said it any better myself. And like, it's something that's different with every contract because I mean, this year I performed on Christmas, and I know that most Broadway shows, Elf
in the city.
Yeah, in the city. Elf, the Christmas musical, didn't have a performance on Christmas.
Really?
But Drag the musical did. And I remember being so mad. I was like, why do we have a show on Christmas? But then it was sold out, and it was filled with people who are away from their families, who maybe don't have relationships with their families because of their identity.
That resentment is something that I think a lot of actors deal with, which is like, I have to do this thing. I don't get to be with my family, and they see other people, and it's like, okay, well, it's like give and take, you know, like maybe Elf the musical didn't have to perform on Christmas, but you know, maybe they performed on Thanksgiving. And I think it's one of those things that when you move on to the next contract, you're able to say like, hey, before I sign this thing, it's really important to me that I am home on Christmas. And then you can see what happens. But
a little part of me would be scared to even do that, because then it's like, okay, then they'll just hire somebody who would be willing, because there is an aspect of this industry that is like, you kind of just have to suck it up. And like, I don't know, there's a level of that that's toxic, and there's a level of that that is competitive and important. Like there's a grit that you have to have graduating college, because if you don't have that grit that is like, okay, I will do that, I will grind, I'll put in the work, I'll put in the hours, then they'll find somebody who does, because there are so many people who want to do this. And what centers me whenever I start to complain about my job or find something that pisses me off, what grounds me is the fact that more than 100 people would show up to Pearl Studios tomorrow morning to take my place. And I know that for a fact. And it's like, do they know all the details of the job? No. But there's just so much hunger out there and desire to do this that if given the opportunity, you have to learn how to take care of yourself in a way that makes you present in the moment when you're at the job, but then also comes from a place of gratitude. Because if you're walking into work in a pissy mood, everybody's going to read that. Everybody's going to know that, and people are going to remember that. I remember when people walk in and just like make their problem your problem or my problem. And that's just not fun to be around, even if it's something that's valid. Like, even if it's as specific as I don't want to perform on Christmas, it's like, okay, but I have a feeling none of us do.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation.
Theater is like a team sport, and once you realize that you're in you have to, it's a mind shift. So speaking of this exciting job, let's talk about Drag the Musical.
Woo!
Tell me about it. I did like a little bit of research, but there's some heavy hitters in this show.
No kidding.
So what has that experience been like for you?
It has been life-changing. And
wow.
I say that with my full chest. It has been life-changing because I watched Nick Adams' Broadway.com vlogs when I don't remember how old I was, but he had a Broadway.com vlog called Muscles and Mascara. And I remember being obsessed and being like, oh my God, this openly gay, beautiful man is a lead in a Broadway show. That's possible for me. Like he was somebody who I think paved the way for many queer young men like myself. And so the fact that I'm sharing a dressing room with this man is mind-blowing. And then I'm also being introduced into a culture that I didn't know anything about. When I was in my final callback for Drag the Musical, I didn't know who Alaska was. Like these are big drag queens, like huge heavy hitters, as you said.
Yeah.
And I just never watched RuPaul. I was just showing up because of my musical theater training, and I knew that this was a story that excited me. And so I walked in, and I remember shaking hands with Alaska after I finished my final callback, and then walking out, and people were like, oh my God, like that was Alaska. Can you believe we met Alaska? And I was like, oh, that was Alaska? Like I was so not...
sometimes that's better though.
Right. I wasn't starstruck walking into the room.
Yeah.
I was walking into the room to get the job.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't here to kiki. I was here to get the job.
Yeah.
And like that was I think it ultimately worked in my favor but also it's because they're human. Like these people, I'm understudying Adam Pascal, who is a Broadway legend.
Legend. So what is it like when you go on for him? Is it you're stepping into humongous shoes? I'm sure you feel the pressure because I'm sure people are there to see him.
Of course.
How do you deal with all of that?
Well, I'm still learning this.
Okay.
I'm still learning this lesson. I've gone on quite a bit, and what helps me is how gentle and nice he is. He is such a shy boy. Like, that's how I describe him to other people. I'm like, he's such a shy boy. But it's true. Like, I just observe how he operates backstage, and I try to inhabit that energy. When I'm in my normal track, I'm dancing. It's high octane. It's a Red Bull kind of track. Like,
wow.
You have to be on and you have to be full of energy. Whereas when I go on for Adam's role, you can't, because he is the grounding piece in this story, in my opinion.
That's a lot to take on.
I'd say so.
I mean, Adam Pascal is like in his 50s.
Yeah.
I don't know the role, but I'm assuming that character is of an older age.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you, doubt definitely slips in because I'm 24.
Yeah, that's
understudying
insane.
Adam Pascal, and these people are showing up to see him. And hear me out. I think it's a lot of pressure, sure, but that's also where the BFA kicks in.
Yeah.
It's like
that's
also
where the technique comes in.
Like
the tools that you've learned, you know?
It's very gratifying because
and that's why you got the job. It
scratches an itch in my brain that really excites me because it's a role that, I mean, the whole character is a straight man. Like, that's one of the defining characteristics of Tom, the character I play, is that he's a straight man and he's a father. He's a father to this little boy named Brendan. And so
you're a father on top of everything?
Yes. Not only am I playing a straight man, I'm playing a father.
Well, you know what? I bet what got you ready for that
was my nannying experience.
And
that's the thing.
That colors everything. And
yes.
I don't know if did you have to like read that role when you were auditioning?
Well, yes, because they were looking for somebody. It was so specific. They were looking for an ensemble member who could dance Spencer Liff's choreo. Spencer Liff is known for So You Think You Can Dance, I think Hairspray. I should have done my fact checking before I said all this. But Spencer Liff is an icon, and it's intense dancing, but they were looking for an ensemble member who could understudy the role of Tom, who is a father. And that's just so specific, but also the vocal type is so specific. They're looking for a rock. I mean, think of Adam Pascal's voice. It has grit, but it also has so much freedom.
Yep.
And that's what excites me about my voice, and what I love about singing is that role and that song. Like, the songs that I get to sing in the show fit my voice in such an exciting way that the doubt and the imposter syndrome kind of melts away when the song starts, because I know what I do, you know? And that's what I guess grounds me in a role that I wouldn't say I on paper am fit for.
Yeah, but the thing is, and to just like bring it all back, is you didn't get that job that out of school that you thought you wanted and you thought was gonna like be the
change
big break.
My life.
But you got this nannying job where you had to take care of 3 boys, and then you can't tell me that doesn't play into getting this thing, because they saw something in you and you had these qualities and characteristics that you acquired because of the experiences that you had. So I think it's so, it's just like all of the things that we do in our lives color the things that happen later. And that's why it's so important as like actors to not poo-poo these things that are like character
the real life
builder
experiences.
So there's a question that I ask every guest that comes on the show. And the question is, what does success look like to you now that you've been in the industry for a little bit of time? And how has that changed since being in the industry?
success is a can of worms that I could talk about for another hour and a half. So, success for me is fulfillment in my creative endeavors. I am every day being creative. I am accessing that flow state, that part of my brain that is curious, that part of my brain that is fun and wants to have fun. That, if I'm doing that on a daily basis, is success. I also view success with the connections that I have, the people that I surround myself with, and the rooms that my name gets me into. And I think at the end of the day, I am successful when I am proud of the work that I do, when I am excited for the work that I'm headed towards and the work that I'm about to do, and that I am not only using one part of my brain, that I'm using the editor, the vocalist, the creator, the analyst, the person who is curious about human psychology, like how we tick. That is success. I think, like, sure, obviously we all have these things that we want to get and these little to-dos to check off our list. But at the end of the day, I know that success is something that only you can feel. And people who have, I remember Gavin Creel, rest in peace, was a mentor of mine. And I will never forget when he was saying, oh yeah, the day after I won the Tony Award, I still had the same number of text messages in my phone. Like, it's like nothing changed. Like, sure, you get the trophy, but like, it's what you do on a daily basis that matters. It's who you surround yourself on a daily basis in your highs, your lows, that matters. And that defines success, because that is what informs that win when you're holding that trophy. Because you could be miserable. You could be miserable leading a dream contract and no one would know. People would be like, wow, he, she, they are so successful. But they could be crumbling inside. You just never know.
Right.
Success is something that you have to find within yourself. Sans trophies, sans contracts. Like, you have to.
Oh, I could talk to you for like another 3 hours. But that just means that you have to come back on again when the podcast is like as big as who knows what.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I've enjoyed this conversation, and you have such a great setup. I love it. I love the space. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're a girl boss.
Oh,
keep going.
Stop.
You got this.
Tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
You can follow me at nicholas.kraft on Instagram and TikTok. And I am currently in Drag the Musical, which is playing at New World Stages.
Ooh, I can't wait to see this.
I'm on 8 times a week, baby. And maybe if you're lucky, you can see me go on for Mr. Adam Pascal.
What a wild statement.
The dates for those are on my Instagram. You can see those. I have it pinned if you're curious. But come on over. Alaska's coming back. That was just announced, and we just got extended, which is thrilling.
Oh.
We just got recognized by the GLAAD Awards.
Wow. I'm so happy for you.
Big things are happening, and yeah, I'm excited, and I'm happy to be here right now in this moment.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you all
me.
for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. We will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye. Thank you all so much for watching my chat with Nicholas. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Please be sure to follow me on social media at Veronica Stern and at That Mixed Chick NYC on TikTok. And we will see you all next time.
Yay.
Oh, that was so good.
I hope that, I don't know what I just said, but I hope that makes sense.
It was so lovely, and it was exactly what I was hoping it would be.